Hello guys, my name is Carlos Sotelo, and today I'll be talking about does if 9/11 correlates to anxiety and phobias. So the hypothesis they were testing is to see if whether people that were part of 9/11 or were in the whole 9/11 if they had any anxiety or seen any phobias that they had after the events of 9/11. So people who had who were I guess were part of the events of the 9/11, they had this thing called mortality salient. Mortality salience is basically when a person knows that death is inevitable and they feel that nothing they can do they can't stop it. So it takes it to like a self-esteem issue, like I can't do this because eventually I'm gonna die. So the way how they were gonna test them is that the experimenter group who were gonna answer questions about 9/11, obviously they were part of the events of 9/11, versus the control group who were just not part of the 9/11, probably witnessed 9/11 through TV or somewhere, and they were gonna answer questions about how does an exam make you feel. So it was compared to the events of 9/11 versus an exam. Obviously, we're gonna get to the findings soon. So it's actually study one results, so ignore study two results, study one results. So the fact is, individuals who experienced the 9/11 attacks, they respond. I had to respond questions to death, like how does death make you feel? Are you scared? Like, are you scared of death? And obviously, they had to take questions about anxiety, like saying I believe one of the questions was, when your heart feels very, very rapid, how do you feel? Like, are you scared or are you not scared? Like, one being obviously, I forgot. Well, no, they had a basic experience. They had to say, what does a rapid heartbeat make you feel like? So most of them, experimental, they all said they were worried about a heart attack. Whereas a control group, they didn't really care. It was just, okay, it happens, whatever. So the experimental group did show significant amount of difference when it came out to having anxiety, whereas a control group didn't really show up at all. I mean, yes, the control group had to do questions about an exam compared to 9/11 events. So that's how they were trying to, get the whole. That's how they're trying to get the whole findings, comparing an exam to 9/11. So before I get to study two, I want to talk about terror management theory. The terror management theory is basically like your own brain acting like a self-defense to protect you. So let's say if you were in a car accident, or I don't know, like maybe you experienced like a helicopter that you were on the helicopter and it just went down and somehow you made it out alive. Well, your brain will actually make you feel like, okay, these things happen, and they'll try to throw it under the rug and try to protect you, make sure that this doesn't affect you in a very long future. So that way you don't have to perform by this. So you protect yourself. It's a self mechanism that everybody has it. So this is basically what the terror management theory. So we're gonna get to study two now. The purpose why I talked about terror management theory is because study two took account to that. They felt that study one didn't really pay attention too much to terror management theory, so they actually took it upon themselves to include that obviously that theory into their own study. So the way how they were trying to do it is by tricking the experimental group by answering questions of basically of the president at the time, George W. Bush, like if they supported him, if they liked his actions on war and terror, did you feel safe of his actions? So those were the type of questions they were going to answer. The control group had to answer the same questions. However, the answers couldn't be more far apart. The experimental group actually supported George W. Bush and every of his ideals, whereas the control group did not. In this experiment or this study, They were tricking participants excuse me, they were tricking the experimental group. If they supported George W. Bush, that means there was some sort of dissociation amongst death and 9/11, something that they didn't want to basically correlate again. They just wanted nothing to do with it because I guess you can say they left, area 1 to go to area 2. They don't want to go back to area 1. So participants did show experimental group did support George W. Bush more than the control group. Obviously, the control group didn't express it that much because they feel it's unnecessary because they've never been to some sort of trauma like the experimental group. And that's the end of my presentation. I hope you guys, I hope you like it. And this is a very interesting, I could say, study. So I really did enjoy it. And thank you so much.